You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call.
I would like to say to whoever has my children that they please.
We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house.
To us where they belong.
Maybe they thought they were his savior. Happy and alive. We want him back in our arms.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Today, we're going to be talking about the case of Quinton Simon because nothing about this case feels right. It reminds me of Casey Anthony and the Susan Smith case, and I have no doubt that law enforcement is thinking the same thing, and this is probably why there's a delay in arresting Leilani. If you don't know who Susan Smith and Casey Anthony are, Casey went partying and had a great time when her daughter Kaylee was not reported missing for over a month. And she supposedly disappeared, and Casey blamed her nanny, who she called Zanny, kind of similar to what Billie Jo did to Diana, right? And Susan Smith drove her two little boys into a lake and watched them drown, and then blamed a black man for her crimes, saying that she had been carjacked. So let's dig into this case together because Quinton deserves justice. Let's get into it. Everything I'm sharing with you today is my opinion, and opinions are not facts, so please don't send any negativity to anyone. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a new video or a live stream, and give this video a thumbs up so I know you were here. So I shared with you in the prior video, and you will want to check this one out next if you haven't already watched it. I will link it for you in the description below, about my feelings about Leilani being another Casey Anthony. And it's my belief that Billie Jo and Leilani used their trip to the motel and to Stingrays to hatch a plot to shift blame away from Leilani. They needed to get away from the hotel in case the FBI was listening in, and then the drinking that went on at Stingrays, that was their celebration of hatching their plan. And what awful optics, because while they were partying it up and running up a $300 plus bar tab, police were searching the landfill, literally sifting through garbage, looking for Quinton Simon. So their game is to play the blame game. First, Billie Jo and Leilani tried to shift the blame onto Babysitter Diana, probably the only caregiver in little Quinton's life who actually is devastated that he is gone. They made sure to tell us that Diana had a key to the house and usually comes to pick up Quinton. I'm going to talk about Danny Youngkin in a moment, so please stay with me. Next, they targeted Quinton's biological father, Michael Bubba Moss, who likes to go by Bubba. Quinton's dad, Bubba, says he hadn't seen Quinton or Leilani in months. And I just have to ask, why wasn't he there for his son? Leilani allegedly told law enforcement that Quinton's biological dad, Bubba, must have taken him. However, police tracked down Bubba, and they were able to confirm that he was at home on the day that Quinton disappeared and was at work by 7:30 a.m. They were even able to get video cam footage from a gas station next to his house to confirm where he was, what time he left to go to work, and they were able to confirm that he arrived at work. So Bubba says that Leilani didn't even tell him she was having Quinton and didn't even put his name on Quinton's original birth certificate. Wow. Apparently, both he and Leilani were arrested for breaking into a mobile home. Leilani was caught first, and they broke into the house of a 40-year-old woman and stole her money. They stole her money. So Leilani pointed the finger at Bubba, always shifting the blame, right, Leilani? And claimed that her child's father came over and convinced her to enter the camper because he couldn't fit through the window. So according to Leilani, she was talked into breaking and entering into someone's house. Sure, Leilani, sure. Leilani was charged with first-degree felony, but it was pleaded down to criminal trespass, and she got away with only 12 months of probation. She is also on probation for a 2021 incident in North Carolina where she allegedly stole things from her employer, including cigarettes, drinks, and popcorn. So Bubba had a lot to say about Leilani, including that she liked to ingest certain substances, and when she didn't get them, she had a violent temper. So Leilani couldn't remember Bubba's name to put him on the birth certificate, but she made sure to blame him when Quinton disappeared. Then she knew his name. Then she remembered his name. So when they weren't able to pin Quinton's disappearance on Bubba, they moved on to Danny Youngkin. And this is where Leilani's half-brother Michael was deployed. And he's been making the rounds on YouTube doing various interviews. And I believe that this is what Billie Jo and Leilani planned during their getaway to that motel and that infamous Stingray incident where they were running up a $300 bar tab acting flirty with the waiter. But sure, they were devastated. Billie Jo and Leilani want you to know they were devastated that Quinton is gone. But just look at the optics of them partying up at Stingray's and juxtapose that against law enforcement search in the landfill for Quinton, literally sifting through garbage. And this tells you everything that you need to know about Leilani and Billie Jo. Because I initially had sympathy for Billie Jo. And I think a lot of us did, but that evaporated quickly. And I've got some information for you from Jennifer Coffindaffer in just a moment, so please stay with me. So they deployed Leilani's half-brother, Michael, to tell us that Danny bathed the 3 kids the night before Quinton went missing. Danny put the 3 kids to bed. He also made sure to point out that Danny texted Diana, the babysitter, the next morning. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying whether Danny should be ruled in or ruled out. I'm just pointing out the shifting blame game that Leilani and Billie Jo are playing. We do know that Danny was 17 minutes late to work on the day that Quinton disappeared. So could he be an accessory or could he be more involved? I'm not saying whether he is or he is not. We also know that Danny was picked up by his parents and taken back to Atlanta, Georgia. Now, I'm not clear why he would need to be picked up by his parents. Did he not have a car? Does he not have a driver's license? And to be fair to Danny, Billie Jo had put an eviction notice in for Leilani and Danny to move out. And I gotta ask, what kind of people are Danny and Leilani that they don't move out when Billie Jo asked them to? Why did Billie Jo have to serve Leilani and Danny with an eviction notice? So maybe Danny was just honoring Billie Jo's request to get out of the house. However, it could also be that he went away to Atlanta to get away from everything. Michael, Leilani's half-brother, also dirtied up Danny some more by saying that Danny had said that he, quote, knew all the answers, end quote. Now, there's no way to independently verify whether Danny said this or didn't say this, but it could also be something that's taken out of context, or maybe Danny is more involved. So Jennifer Coffindaffer at Coffindaffer FBI caught this little nugget of information. If something does come up that I'm at fault, I will take myself to the police station, Leilani Simon said. Doesn't sound like the statement of someone who is innocent, because she said, quote, she awaits the proof, end quote. Subscribe and leave me a comment.